Hello, and welcome to another week of Abusecartoons streaming. So this is the streaming and drawing of my weekly cartoon, Domestic Abuse, and thanks for joining me. Yeah, things are a little bit. The camera was used for something else, so things are kind of moved around. I hope it's not as dark and dreary as it looks. It's a pretty gray, rainy day here, so I hope that doesn't look too bad on the video. But let's see here. Okay. Okay, I think everything's set up, and hopefully you can hear me and the levels are good. It looks like it. So let's get started. The something I wanted to bring up before I forget is a thought I had on the way here. I was reading a book on a e-reader thing, which is something I don't do very often. I've started to lately just because some things are hard to get a hold of or expensive to ship here. And I was reading a book, and I noticed that in this e-reader software, it keeps track of highlighted passages. And this was the first time I'd read this book. It's a new author, new to me. It's a really interesting story. And I realized how much of an invasion that is, or a kind of it's disruptive. It kind of interrupts my experience of this book and of this story. And I guess I have borrowed books from people in the past, and especially like classics and things that were used in literature classes where they've highlighted and made notes in the margins. And that didn't bother me so much, but this really did. Because I have no idea. I'm not assuming that this highlighting or this was done for any sort of educational or academic purposes. It was just done out of the experience of it, and to let other people know what things you should pay attention to in this book. And it was really weirdly violating. And I was trying to come up with a good analogy for it, and it's kind of like reading a newspaper left in the stall in a men's bathroom. It's just like, you wouldn't do that. It's a very used, and you don't know what condition it's in. It's a very already read, miserable thing that someone's already done something with. And so you don't want to interact with that. You don't want to have anything to do with that unless you need to cover something up or clean something up. But it had that similar feel to me, and that's when I realized, and this just may be my generation and my thinking, because like I said, I'm new to reading digitally. I don't do it very often, and there may be just some quirk or some strange thing that is just how I think. But print has it right. Print really understands, even though you're not fooling yourself. You don't have the only copy of this book, that there are thousands, tens of thousands, millions of this book published, even if you're reading it, right after it, first edition, the month it was released. But you're having an experience with a fresh, clean object, and every page that you turn has never been turned before, and everything is pristine, and you're experiencing it for the first time in this object you've held for the first time in a page that's been turned for the first time. So it's your specific, unique, personal experience of this work through this object of paper. And I think this even works with magazines and things as well. They're so clean and they're so fresh, and you're experiencing it for the first time, and it's not something that's unless it's sitting on the coffee table at a doctor's office or whatever. It's something that you haven't that hasn't been experienced before, specifically by you and specifically with this object. And that's something maybe I'm just been conditioned to enjoy that, but that's something that I really think is important to experience. And when I saw these highlighted passages in this e-reader, it really was violating, and it just made me feel like uh, there's so many people that have read this book and they think they're so important and they're going to give you their opinion, because who knows who these people are. These aren't scholars or professors or anything that these are just idiots that have logged in to this e-reader account and decide that they want to highlight to show you what's so important. So I was thinking, that is the problem, and that is the situation with the whole internet, is that it's just a used newspaper in a toilet, left in a toilet that who wants to have anything to do with, because it's not going to be a unique, interesting experience for you, because you're going to watch some media or look at something and there's going to be everybody's experience of it and their consensus, and that weird internet consensus that exists now is a very strange and unique thing, where things are judged because some people want to be tastemakers and influencers and they want to jump on things as early as possible. So they do, and they give their really strong opinion, and then they have a bunch of people that are following them and say, oh, okay, that's what we think. And so a lot of media, I don't know if it's happening with books as much, but I know, film and television and video games and maybe even comics, are judged instantly. And there's this instant consensus that's, really hard to shift. There has to be like really, major, realizations or whatever that happen that shift things away from, oh, this is good, this is bad. And, upvoting people's comments under things. It's just all this various way for people with no stake in anything to get feedback, to get gratification from having an opinion. And sorry about that noise, companies, I guess, think this is somehow useful or somehow interesting, but it's more disruptive than anything. And I really realized that looking at this, 9 people highlighted this passage, and the passages that were highlighted were just the worst kind of, I think they were important. They're important in the story, but to pick them out and so this is key. It's just, the motivations of those people are suspect, I think. But so I really realized that I do not enjoy that. I'm going to try to find out if I can turn that off, because that, I want to hear someone's opinion or read an annotated version of a book that I know was, scholarly, researched and considered, not just these, people say, oh, this is a good line. Oh, I love this. Yeah, this, I live. Oh, this is me. I recognize this. I identify with this, or this is important. Really hate that. And, but, people's self-importance and narcissism is so evident now in everything. And this whole stupid, view, comment, like, follow, hungry thing that's been created has just created this whole like weird underclass of commenters, and it's ridiculous. But I think that's the thing, that's the problem. It's the difficulty that this endless expanse of the internet has created, is we need aggregators and kind of curators, editors, to kind of focus us a little bit, because personally it takes up too much time to actually hunt out things that are worthwhile or kind of match your sensibilities or your needs. And they're trying to do that with algorithms and things, and you may also like, or you may also be interested in kind of recommendations, and usually those are garbage. So there's been a necessity or a need created for that sort of thing, but at the same time it's such an impersonal, such an impersonal experience now of certain media that it really turns me off of, doing things a certain way. So, already I'm kind of got a little bit of a disgust for reading books that way. And, that was surprising. But at the same time, I think I know people that, they just get so excited when they can share their opinions about something. And even if their opinions are not even very, interesting or insightful, just people just love to have opinions. What was that old saying your grandfather says, opinions are like pigs' tails. Every pig's got one, and they're only important to the pigs. I can't remember. There's probably a uglier version of that I don't remember either. But yeah, that was just really really depressing, and especially because the book I was reading was kind of a new. It's a newer book that has been getting awards and things, and I was very curious about it, and I really like it. I really enjoy the story and really love the storytelling and how it's written, and it's one of the more effective uses of second person that I've seen. I think there's a couple of famously second person written novels, but I was really I really liked how effective the use of it was, and it's not the whole book. There's just one chapter that is you, and that's quite powerful when used correctly, and I think that helps. It's a science fiction, or I guess not science fiction, just a fantasy book, and sci-fi fantasy. It used to be that there was no difference between the two, but it's really good for the kind of uniqueness and kind of disenfranchised nature of some of the characters in the book, that you are following one of them and reading you. So you're connecting to this person that in the society in the book is kind of is an outcast, and a lot of people think is dangerous. So I like that very much. It works well. But I do not like to read what people have highlighted in that book as I'm reading it. That's really, really annoying. I don't know who, aside from like a 15-year-old, or I don't know who would have any use for that. It's very strange, because it's not like, thinking about it, it's not like if you're reading the book for a class, that would be helpful. Oh, okay, this is what I need to pay attention to, this, I need to understand the meaning of this very well. It's not like that. It's just like, oh, this is so cool. Like the the reasons that they get highlighted are just based on coolness, I think. But so much of that is just the way things are now. There you listen to like a commentary on a Blu-ray or DVD, and people are talking about, oh yeah, this was so cool. We did this because this would look cool, or we wanted this to look as cool as possible. It's like, cool is an aesthetic now. Sorry, disruptions. Ugh. All right. A little bit of silence for you there. The audio listeners must love that part. Okay. There we go. So, yeah, I just wanted to, before I forgot about that, just kind of document that hitting me so hard, because that was a real, that was a real turnoff. And they want to feed the monster, feed the beast. I think most companies have, realized that, collecting your preferences is almost as good as advertising to you, because you can sell it to the people that are going to want to advertise to you. So that's a real turnoff, that kind of stuff keeps showing up. But that's where we are with all of this. Okay, what's happening? But yeah. So I'm curious if other people feel that same way. And I guess if you've just read physical books your whole life, if that's just a preference and just kind of a distraction that you don't want. There are, I guess, kind of handy things, like you can highlight a word in some of this software and it pops up a definition or something. But a lot of the time I notice that writers, use things artfully. So a lot of the definitions of some way that people use things is not very good. Or, when it's part of a story, when it's, actual, terminology or vocabulary from a certain setting or story, a dictionary is not going to know that. An electric online dictionary is not going to know that. So it's only moderately useful. And why are we catering everything to high school level reading? It's weird. All this technology is for little kids. I don't know. I don't get that. Okay, so there's some trash. But what I wanted to talk about, mostly, the main thing that was kind of on my mind today was finishing things, having complete thoughts with your work and getting to the end of things, even if it's not, you wish you could have done it better, or there was more that you wanted to explore. It's just getting something finished, because, so many people I know have unfinished ideas, just, not I'm saying like, inspiration and ideas, but things that they have worked on and then just get to a point where they don't know where to go, or, ran out of time, or their schedule changed, so that they don't finish it, and then it just sits. And I think it's very important in kind of a timely manner to finish an idea that you've had, that you've started, not just, the notes in your notebook or little pieces of inspiration, but things that you've actually worked on. You got to get them. You got to follow through. You got to get all the way to the end. You got to finish the idea. You got to bring some kind of closure, some kind of resolution, depending on what it is. I'm talking, I guess, mostly about narrative things. But get to the end of them in some way, because, all media is kind of a product of its time, and your work is a product of the kind of state and the level of everything that you're in. And if you leave something, there's very little chance you're actually going to go back and be able to finish it anywhere in that same sort of state. So it's going to have a kind of obvious disconnect between parts, or, the end of it is going to be something that the older you, the more experienced you, a different you finished. So it's very important, I think, to finish things and get to the end of things. And then saying that is at the same time, that also would mean do not look back, do not go back to finish things, or not to finish things, to alter things, because, I could do that so much better now. And I think a lot of people that are drawing feel that, because, so much of drawing and painting is a skill, and as you do it, you get more skillful at it. And when you look at your early work, very cringy, like, I want to do that again. I would do so much better. But unless you're getting paid to do it again, there is no point in going back. That is just, your experience, your lack of experience, your lack of ability documented, and there's no point, unless there's, some major reason to make a large cohesive body of work that needs to, all have this similar level of whatever. I mean, there's a very few reasons I can think to actually do that. So just keep moving forward, because what you didn't finish or what you don't like about that older piece can be part of a new piece, can be part of your next idea. The kind of improvements and just better version of things is still in you, and it would be better applied to something new, as opposed to just going back. And because it's I think you could endlessly do that. I mean, a person could paint the same painting their entire life, because while they're taking the time to finish it, while they get towards the end, they will be so much better than when they started, that they will then want to go back and fix the things that they did at the beginning. And then, it would just be an endless cycle of just over painting your, months older work, because you got enough, you got so much better during that time. And I think that's a ridiculous thing. I mean, the most famous kind of example of that is the weird CG that was added to the original Star Wars films when they did the special edition release, which I think commercially, marketing wise, that was a good idea to release those films back into the theaters to get a new generation that's only seen them on VHS, basically, or, acoustic, the analog laser disc, to see those films in the theater. And the parents would obviously take the kids, and it would kind of keep those in the kind of pop culture consciousness of whatever of people. So kind of setting the stage for releasing those wonderful prequels. But and I guess they did need a reason to legitimize, they needed to make it 3D or add something. There needed to be something new added to it to kind of, why are you doing this? Is it this just an obvious attempt to, generate interest in something that's, been dead for about 20 years. So yeah, but that's a really good example of really unnecessary fussing with something. And that, especially that first movie, the first Star Wars movie, is such a product of its time and such a beautiful example of this new thinking, this new kind of blockbuster weird thinking where it's not anti-heroes and it's going back, it's after the 70s, or in the midst of the 70s, it's going back to a very simple black and white good guy bad guy thing with this weird coat of it looked like a Kurosawa movie, and it had little tones of westerns, cowboy movies in it. And it was just a very odd, unique vision. And I think it's such a product of that time that there is no updating it. There is no kind of bringing. You're kind of seeing that now in the new Disney done versions of Star Wars. They don't really know what's interesting about it, and so it's getting ridiculous. But so it's there. You can't do it, and there's no point in doing it, and you're just wasting your time unless you're completely out of ideas, or there's something really driving you, like I've always wanted to tell this story and I didn't quite do it justice the first time or whatever. But those are pretty weak reasons for that sort of thing. And I would always recommend just moving on, because the thing that you have still inside you is going to be so much better than that. And so, just try to break away from that thinking, because I think it's pretty harmful. And especially, I don't know, I think a lot of people really admire some of the ideas they had when they were younger, just because they were very free and stupid and less self-conscious, kind of things, maybe, depending. And so they kind of admire that, and they worry, they may, when they're older, be too conscious of audience or tone or, political, social reasons not to say something or do something or have a certain character a certain way. So they may, admire the freedom that they had when they were younger. But I'll tell you, most of the time that work is just, it's not worth trying to do something with. If you didn't do it then, there's no point in doing it now, because you're not that person anymore, and you're not going to be able to do it just. I guess you could be, if you literally stopped doing something, stopped working creatively, and do go back. I guess that would be the kind of only legitimate time where you could, kind of pick up where you left off, because you did not make any progress. You hadn't been doing any work. You've made you haven't gone any further. So I guess it's possible, because you're kind of a little bit of a time capsule there, where you haven't progressed, that idea or your abilities any further. So I guess that would be possible, but that's not a good situation either. I think you'd be much better at finding your newer voice, or your I don't know. And I think it's just because, and like I've said before, it's, it takes a lot of bravery. Like, creativity is a lot of bravery, because, things that you do are going to be judged, and they came from you. They're very personal, and they came from you. So, you feel like people are judging you if they don't like your ideas, or don't think they're funny or interesting, or, original, or whatever. So that's very painful. And so it takes a lot of bravery to do that. And so I think, some people just, they want to be creative, but they also want to be cowardly about it. So maybe something that somebody said that they liked 10 years ago or whatever, they're going to stick to it because this is the one. Ugh. Yeah, speaking of, this is the one. Oh my God. Yeah, I just got out of a really miserable freelance situation that was just dragging on forever, that I don't even know if it was actually legitimate, because we're supposed to be finishing something that never seemed to be finished. I don't know. I don't know what that was, but it's over now and I can move on. So hopefully that'll mean I can be doing more streaming, I think. So I'll stick to my weekly Abuse Cartoons, but talking about streaming as far as like miniature painting, or maybe doing Citizen Spaceman or other things live on streaming, that may be fun. I'm not sure. Yeah, that may be a really interesting experience, because it'll also force me to kind of do some work on it. I've done a little bit more writing on Citizen Spaceman 3, but nothing complete. But I think I got a better structure for what I want to happen, and in those in all of those 12 pages. But yeah, so I just need to get to that. And that's one of those things. That's kind of basically what I'm talking about. I need to finish this Citizen Spaceman idea, because the person that I was when I had that idea is disappearing, and I'm not going to be able to. I mean, I think by the end it's going to be a very different idea if I take too much time producing it, because I'm doing it in such small pieces. And I'm not showing it to, or not giving it to any more podcasts. But yeah, we'll see. Okay, so this is just more doodling here, but keep moving forward. But yeah, it's an important thing. Okay, got it. Okay, thank you. Whoa, thank you. All right. It's an important thing to keep in mind. Just keep moving forward, and that's the age we're in more than ever. Is the only way that you can beat, or at least be creative and alive in this weird digital world, is just to keep creating. That's the only thing you can do, because especially if you're working digitally, your work is infinitely duplicatable and reusable, and people can put their names on it and whatever. But the only thing that they don't have is that source of the creativity. So to keep doing it and keep moving forward and keep making better and better and better work, so the stuff that gets stolen is not as good as your new stuff. I mean, that's basically the situation you're in working digitally. And yeah, that's just kind of what you have to do. So the motivation to push yourself, is already kind of baked into the medium, because nobody likes to look at old digital art. They're like, Photoshop 2.0, I see it got there. But that sort of thing. But it's, yeah, difficult to do that, because I think, especially if you have, if there are really strong personal reasons attached to certain story ideas and things, but you're not that person anymore, and you need to move on. You need to let kind of old versions of yourself die, and be reborn in the kind of new things that you are. And just like people leaving jobs or getting married or moving to different parts of the world or the country or whatever, you leave behind that older stuff, but it's still in you. It's still shaped you and made you, the kind of person that you are. So it's not useless, and it's not. But you can't get so involved with. I don't know. With that kind of curating or managing your image or who you are, that you get stuck in these weird hang-ups about, well, I have to do this because this is the kind of person I am. This is the thing that I want to tell. I mean, you may not be that person anymore, and that story that you wanted to tell may not really, you may not be able to do it anymore, because it's not going to have the same kind of resonance, and you're not going to have that same, should I do this? Yeah, maybe the same state of mind that would, create something like that. Yeah, but it's always difficult, and you have to judge that for yourself, because, great works have come out of, people fussing over things, too much anyhow. It's your own little psychosis that's given it all that yummy flavor. So go ahead and be crazy, but I'm just warning you as far as productivity and stuff, that if you're really not sure about what you're doing, don't keep looking back. Don't be afraid, and keep going back to old ideas and old things. I mean, old ideas are good to keep track of, because you can build on those, or that can be the seed of something new. But for the most part, yeah, you gotta let that stuff go. Yeah, I think the best example of that. I can't even remember if it had the kind of project had this consistent name, but I was obsessed with this idea that I had, and it started in undergraduate school and it followed me all the way to graduate school, and it was just because I didn't have anything else. Like when it was time to do something or work on something, there was just nothing else in me, and it was this idea of a guy like that had worked, just like a young guy that had some terrible job where he was working at like a pizza restaurant or something, one of those like kind of Chuck E. Cheese style things where he was the guy in the costume and that's all he was. And he kind of had this existential crisis and just walked away from his job, wearing this outfit, and just kind of lost who he was, but just stayed in that outfit, like, had been so emotionally broken that he was just like, that's what he identified as. And so I had that idea, and I think it's been done. There was a Netflix series or something that had that same kind of character, like a guy in a dog suit that was all crazy and rude or whatever, but you weren't sure if it was in the character's imagination or not. But so that idea followed me, and I kept kind of bringing it back and trying to do things with it. And it was just, there wasn't enough there, and it wasn't a fully formed or developed idea, and it also wasn't good enough to be the springboard for something else. But that idea haunted me, and I kept doing different versions of that for the longest time, and never got it anywhere. But the going back to it is what made it terrible, because I think it was just, a product of a 20-year-old mind, and getting graduate school age, I'd already gotten kind of past that. I mean, I was already like, married with a kid and a house. And so that kind of thinking was, it kind of dead in me, and it was hard. I couldn't put myself back in that mindset, that situation. So I should have just left it alone. But yeah, it was just that cowardice. It was just not being brave and moving forward. It was like, okay, what do I got? Oh, I did a bunch of drawings of this. Yeah. So I've had a couple of those ideas that I really wanted to pursue and just didn't get them out. And then it's just too late. At a certain point, it's just too late. And it's important to understand that and realize that in yourself. I mean, that's very, I don't know. I'm talking about, personal work and kind of important work. This is not, for just commercial production and stuff. I mean, the way to survive to be a, commercial illustrator is just develop your chops and just do the same drawing over and over again. Just keep selling that to people, because, that's a way to be very productive. But yeah, it's difficult. What am I drawing here? So always keep that in mind, and out with the old, in with the new, or just keep, moving on creatively. Yeah, so those two ideas. I guess the first idea, the annoying part of everything being so used online. Yeah, that's the real, going back to that first idea about the, number of highlighted passages in an ebook. I think that's a real sickness now that the internet has, is you want to be the first, you want to get early access and exposure, and you want to be that person that reviews things first, mostly because, if it's something people are interested in and you're the first and only person that is talking about it, you get the views, even if what you do is terrible, you get the views. And that's what people are addicted to now, that are working as influencers, and companies now are just falling into that same nonsense too, which is funny because, Hollywood especially works so hard for, private screenings and the, previews, and we had, this exclusive screening of this new movie that people now have to wait 3 months for, and whatever. That was such a thing for such a long time, and not breaking release dates and stuff. And now you've got all this weird, if you're going to shill for us, then you're going to get early access, but you're going to have to lie about what you think. Because if you don't say good things, then you're not going to be here next time. Yeah, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So yeah, we're full of that now, and it's a real weird balance because companies' needs, and then what is motivating, or I guess making money for people online, are very different things now. What am I doing? So let's see. Yeah, so that was kind of the thinking for today. I did a little pre-thought. Sometimes I'm actually streaming and I've not really had any big ideas or things that I really wanted to talk about. I'm not even sure. I'm not even completely convinced yet that this kind of creative talk is all that interesting, or that it's going to apply to that many people, because I don't think a lot of people interested in this cartoon are interested in talking about creative stuff. It may be more fun just to talk about silly pop culture, not Japanese things. I don't know. Yeah, because the first version that I was thinking about doing this as when I was thinking about doing this as just a podcast, of like a video podcast, but then the streaming thing kind of got made easier, and so I started to do it as streaming. But the original idea, basically, it was just this whole nostalgia mess, just talking about memories of things. Oh, remember this, and look at that, remember these kind of things, the things that looked like this, and you did this, and you opened it like this. And that was the original tone and kind of content of the first streaming that I was doing. And I did go back to that because I thought it was a bit boring, because I was doing it very low energy, and I still hadn't figured out, not that I've mastered it now, but I still hadn't figured out kind of how to talk and draw at the same time. So I'd draw something and then talk about it, and then draw something else and talk about it. And I don't know. I think that worked very well. But yeah, so I kind of changed to kind of give me something to keep me motivated and keep me talking. I kind of came up with that idea of just talking about creative, your work, your creativity, and hopefully, I mean, the most wonderful thing in the world for me is someone that wasn't thinking creatively or didn't have a lot of motivation to do something, listening to this and getting inspired. If this idiot can do it, then I can definitely do better than that. That would be a nice thing to come out of this, is that somebody got inspired to do something and it took off for them. That would be wonderful. And but I guess my thinking was that that's the people that need kind of the inspiration. And then when I was looking around at who was streaming and about what, I think creative people do need a lot of encouragement, because it's so easy to get discouraged and why do I do this, which is different from what I was talking about last week, where give up if it's too hard. But but I think there's nothing wrong with encouraging creativity. I think that would keep people focused, or at least I do want to do that. I like hearing about that. I do want to keep doing this. I don't want to give up kind of thinking is good. But so let me know if there is somebody out there that this inspired them to actually do something, because that would make me so happy, because otherwise I don't even know why I'm doing this. And like I said, I might call it quits on this after a year or so. I guess October? I don't know. I'll have to take a look. But a year of this, just because it's not, and I'm not particularly promoting it well or anything, but it's just it's not doing anything. I don't think it's generating any traffic or interest or anything. And if that's not true, if you have discovered this cartoon because of the stream, please let me know. That would be great. That would be a wonderful thing. But I just have a feeling that I'm talking to myself, and a year is long enough to do that. Then you can refocus, rededicate yourself to not sounding crazy. I don't know where I'm going for this second cartoon. I just don't have any inspiration. And unlike, I won't do to you what I did last week, where I was just drawing everything from the convenience store segment. Oof. Yeah, I apologize for that hour and a half of cup noodles. But it was so interesting. Yeah, I will try to refrain from any more Wikipedia-inspired cartoons. Ugh. It's the worst. Yeah, I'm terrified to look at any comments on that cartoon because, yeah, I don't know. I should have put the Wikipedia annotation there so people knew where to look to find out why that was funny. And I guess I'll spoil a little bit of what the convenience store segment is not. I unfortunately waited a little too long. I was going to do something that was very Japanese summer thing before it was done, and kind of, because this is basically the last week for kids before they go back to school in Japan. And oh boy. Yeah. This is basically the last week, and I was thinking about what was a interesting, very summery Japanese thing, and I think we did, I forget what I did before, but it was another summery thing. But this is the very summer item, which was the Japanese damone. The damone soda and the candy is very kids Japanese thing, and it's a very unique taste. It's kind of like sweet tarts without the tart kind of part. But I was going back and forth about what to do, and I thought, oh, that would be great because that's gonna, it's gonna be over soon. And it, things are very seasonal here, so they just disappear and they don't come back until the next time. Actually, I don't think I need all of this, do I? I don't think I need this either. I think I'm just going to do something about returns. Yeah, something like that I think will work. Yeah, returning. Okay. Yeah, I think that'll work. Let me see how that composition wise, it's a little weird. I think I want to do maybe this here, and then take them all up a little bit. But I went to the convenience store and there was nothing to be found. So the convenience store has already decided that summer is over. Maybe a grocery store would be better. They're a little bit slower with their inventory. But poof, the convenience store said, we don't got none, no more. So yeah, that's tricky. I gotta remember that about the timing in Japan, that you can't do anything late here because things move quick, very trendy, and very quickly they will be gone. The box is a little thick. Is that other box? Oh, it's worse. Well, we'll try this. I think the pen might need a little thickening because I reduced it too much. Oh, but I found something else that's a very kind of standard thing in Japan that may be enjoyable, and it's not really a summer only thing, so that may be nice. Actually, let me fill this and see if that helps. So some of these thinner lines don't need thickened at all. But the outside could probably use it. So as soon as I get something colored, we will. Whoa, there it goes. We will get to that. Yeah, I don't know if this is a terribly illegal thing that I'm doing, but it helps sometimes with my weird. Oh, yeah, I'll paint something inside that blister pack. Okay, I think that'll work for everything. So now everything can be there. Okay. All right, so we have something being returned, and we have some other things being returned. Some trash. All right. Okay. Whoa, I guess that was more than I thought. So yeah, as soon as I get some color on these, we will move on to some exciting Japanese convenience store things. Yeah, so yeah, please let me know in comments or direct messages or whatever about yeah, your thoughts. Actually, I think I've read that like YouTube, there's a couple of, they're not doing direct messaging anymore. So that's funny, but you know, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff, I can still be. Whoa! Contacted. What happened there? It squished at the very end. Maybe that's why it took so long, because it thought I was... try that again. There we go. Yeah, I think it shifted invisibly. Okay, let's color this trash. Yeah, so that's a very depressing... Oh, maybe I'll do that greenish bag. I missed that. I guess it's usually a lawn bag, but that greenish plastic. I love this color. Whoa, not that color. But, ooh. Sorry, my breathing's a little noisy there. With this microphone so close, you hear everything. I guess that's what the, what is that? AMSR thing, yeah, whatever that is. The people being stimulated by very sensitive microphones. I don't think I would be capable of doing that other than making people worry about the condition of my lungs. I am breathing every minute of my time in Los Angeles, and whatever damage happened there. Oof. Yeah, I probably would have been better off just being a 2-pack-a-day smoker than living anywhere away from the ocean in Los Angeles. Ugh. All right. Yeah, so I'll just try to put some kind of faded color on some of these. Get a very desaturated and kind of damaged look. That should work. Actually, warm this up a little bit. And then do stone. All right. Yeah, that looks okay. Okay, I'm going to stop talking about what I'm doing because that's not so interesting if you're not watching. Whoa, yeah, I am a little funky today. Sorry, so noisy. Noisy breathing. So, I did an attempt at reading one of those short stories I've been kind of talking about, like, as an audiobook, because someone recently that read one of them, said, yeah, you should do that, but don't spend any money producing them. But I really think that, you know, and this may just be my bias from animation school, but if you don't have a high quality product, as far as you know, if somebody's only listening to something and you use amateur voices, it's not worth people's time, and you're going to get them disinterested in your work. What's going on here? Because you wouldn't spend the money for a professional. I mean, I think just it might just be my weird bias, but I think professional voice talent is so important in people enjoying things, because I just think of some of the audiobooks that I enjoy, and if it's just somebody kind of okay narrating it, it becomes really distracting. And, you know, maybe a reason I have a not great opinion or get turned off before I get, you know, through anything or finish anything. So, yeah, I really want to do find some good voice talent and do that for those enmity stories. So hopefully that will happen. Yeah, still what's going on? How high is that? Turn down the tolerance. I've got no tolerance. Okay. There we go. I'll just do this rock and stuff by hand. But, yeah, as soon as there's any update on that, I will let people know. I better let people know or no one's going to listen to it. But, yeah, I was a little discouraged, though, because I just saw someone that I follow just for painting just released a collection of short stories. I'm like, oh, great. Every idiot's got this same silly idea. But hopefully, I mean, I was really inspired and really enjoyed writing those stories, so hopefully that shows. And I think just like, oh yeah, that's all connected. Just like this cartoon, yeah, hopefully people with a similar sensibility will enjoy those stories because I, you know, had so much connection to making them, and that would give people some, you know, connection and enjoy happiness just because, you know, because of that same sort of thing. Just kind of the same way that this worked. I think if I didn't get so much happiness out of this kind of strange tone and the kind of content of this cartoon, then I don't think that would translate to, you know, people's enjoyment very well. So, yeah, hopefully that will work. Yeah, I really like that. I'm surprised I enjoyed the writing as much as I did, because it's always been a big source of frustration for me in the past, is trying to write story, and maybe just the Citizen Spaceman kind of thinking through things. The work that I did on that made me enjoy, you know, the written word a little bit more, and then just to do only something written where I wasn't like constantly fussing with it visually was very fun. And I've heard people say that, people that, you know, are amazing artists that have drawn all their lives, is, yeah, sometimes it feels good to not draw, you know, to still be able to create and not be drawing anything. Get your ideas out there and not have them be so labor intensive. Okay, there we have some trash. What are we at size-wise here? Okay, so put some eyes. What's going on? Wow, yeah, my system is running weirdly slow. Okay. Magazine eyes. They'll line up too perfectly. This bag, though, I don't know if it's got eyes because it's in such an awkward place. I don't know. I didn't even think about that when I was drawing that. I was like, oh, that looks different. And yeah, that's why it's different, because I can't... I don't know. Okay, we'll leave that like that for now. And get this guy colored. Yeah, returns something. I guess, you know, if you buy here domestically in Japan, it's different, but they're so much more difficult if you're going to deal. International returns are just a nightmare. And companies want them to be because, you know, shipping has gotten so expensive and so slow. Yeah, but that probably has a lot to do with the kind of collapse of the American Postal Service. What's going on? There we go. And I'll have to put some... Oops, put the white back in here. There we go. Okay, and maybe the usual little highlight band. That's not bright enough. There we go. Yeah, I think I need to put something in here, don't I? I'm not sure what it is. Let's try something on a different layer, just maybe white. Ugh. Yeah, something like... Oh, no, but nah, maybe I'll just put it below. I can't go below the color. I guess just on the color, so I keep the lines. Yeah, I guess that'll have to do. Yeah, something like that should work. I don't know what that is. I don't know why it's in such weird packaging, but we have it now. All right. Oh, maybe some tape on the box itself. So we're reusing a formerly taped box. Return to sender. Okay. Let's put some tones on here. Let's see how that looks. Oh no. All right, a little bit out of it here. Doing some weird, yes, of course. Some weird filling. Oh, okay. I don't want that, do I? Oh boy. Yeah, I'll just take this out. Yeah, this looking weirdly rough. It might be okay. And I've got to put the whiteness of this plastic in here too. And a little edge on everything. There we go. There's some exciting details about whatever this is. There we go. Yeah, actually, maybe just with this I can get away with, yeah, I think so, with getting enough of the idea of the plastic. Yeah, I think that'll work instead of having to go through, you know, a whole another layer. Yeah, I think that works okay. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, hopefully I can make these funny. They are not hugely powerful ideas at the moment, so hopefully something will inspire me when we're writing. Okay, something like that. Yeah, I think that works. That's a giant marker, isn't it? Well, it will have to be. Okay. The marker. Okay, there we go. So we've got some color on both of these and no writing. So you know what that means. Oh, I think I'm going to eat on camera again very soon because I'm a little hungry. Apologies for that. I'll try to keep it away from the mic. I don't know how repulsive. When I look back at the some of the stream with the cup noodle, I'm just holding a cup noodle and talking to the camera. That looks absolutely ridiculous. So I don't know if I should keep doing this stuff, but it's fun, and people who don't have access to this kind of thing, hopefully it'll be a little bit interesting. And I'm trying to, make the actually this needs a little bit more. Trying to diversify, a little bit what I'm doing on this stream to make it not so, me droning on kind of thing. But I don't know if it's working. We'll see. We'll make that call later. Yeah, I don't like this. Okay. All right. Oh, back to saving again. Okay. So we're all saved up. All right. So there we have our two gorgeous and pretty gloomy cartoons. I guess it matches the weather. All right. And now for everyone's favorite segment. I don't know. For a different segment. For the thing you've all been waiting for. And wait, it's got a sound, so I won't talk over the sound this time. There you go. That's the sound of the convenience store segment of the stream. All right. So what I wanted to talk about today was something you see all over Japan, and I guess actually also all over Asia, maybe Taiwan, China, and even South America. I think it's made it there. But the thing that I'm talking about today is melonpan, melon bread. This is everywhere, and there's actually sometimes trucks with fresh baked bread driving around. And these are sweetbreads. Sorry, this is going to be noisy. So I'm just opening this up. This is a sweet bread, and the Japanese version, I guess, is drier and has less butter in it than others. And it's, melon bread, melonpan, and that is taking the two loan words together, melon from English and pan from Portuguese, because there's a lot of Portuguese in Japanese, because I guess they were the first kind of Westerners to give them new words that they just used, katakana to say. So these breads are everywhere, and I think some people like them, some people don't. Everyone has tried them, and basically what it is a kind of a little bit of a sweet roll with a thin layer of kind of cookie dough over the top, or I guess the equivalent of it. So when it's baked on the outside is kind of crunchy, but the inside is just bread, and so yeah, it's obviously just baked like that. And I guess the original name came from, it looked like a melon, but it never tasted like a melon. But more recently, they've been putting melon juice or melon flavoring into them. And there's also a big variety. I guess like in Hong Kong, there's pineapple bread, pineapple pan. And, okay, yeah, I can't talk and eat. But it's sweet and nice, and but pretty heavy calories. I think it's like 500 calories for one of these things. So I've seen on television people talking about, like students especially, buying one of these and cutting it in half, and they have half for breakfast and half for lunch because they're pretty heavy. But they do have a big variety of different kinds of bread. And so I'm just trying to give you, I'm doing this for a reason. I'm just trying to give you the view. So inside you can see it is just bread. It's like a little mound of bread. And so originally, not melon flavored at all. And it was eating on microphone. It looked like a melon, so they called it a melon bread because of the hemispheric. It looks like a bunch of melons. But recently there's a lot of different flavors, including something like this. Chocolate chips. So see the bread with chocolate chips, or sometimes the layer that they put on top is a little bit different. It's more like a fondant kind of frosting or something that has a flavor in it. So you'll get some seasonal ones like that are all smooth and sometimes filling some things inside. That makes it very, they're very seasonal and very trendy. And so like you'll have pumpkin in the fall, and then you'll have in the spring, not in the fall, I guess it's summer, it's pumpkin, but you'll have, different seasonal things happening. So the melon palm will change. And you can basically, if you like these, you can find one just about anywhere. And they all kind of have this same sort of appearance, unless they've got some weird extra layer on top, so that kind of ridged, melon-like appearance. And it's based on the most common melon here. I'm not sure the actual species of it, but it's like more like a honeydew or a green cantaloupe. It's like a light green flesh. The flesh of the fruit is a light green color, but the outside looks very cantaloupe-like. So I'm not sure if we have an equivalent. Yeah, honeydews are smooth, so it has the same kind of texture as a cantaloupe. And so it's a pretty old kind of baked good here, and it has kind of evolved. But if you see anything that has the katakana for meron pan, that's the type of bread you're dealing with, and it's good. It's good to have as a snack, and it's pretty substantial. I mean, they're always pretty large, so it's not easy to always finish. So the other type of bread that you will find everywhere, although it's been a little bit more rare recently, that I really like, I'm trying to open this off of microphone as much as possible, is the mushpan. So mushi, not the bug mushi, but the mushi as far as like how something is cooked, is steamed. So if you see mushidori or mushi something, that means they cooked it with steam. So these are steamed cakes, so mushpan, steamed bread. And these are really amazingly soft and much moister and more tender than melon pan. Melon pan is a very crumbly, dry bread. And the top of it gives it a little bit more crunchy. This is just all soft and delicious wonderfulness. And this is the tamago version, the egg, kind of heavy egg-based version. You see that's why it's so yellow. Really good. But these are light. Oh, these are good. And they do variations. There's like, chocolate and maple and black sugar, which is, I guess, their equivalent of brown sugar here. Different flavorings. But these are really good, kind of a little sweet breakfast thing too, with coffee, morning coffee. But mushpan is another kind of ubiquitous thing. And it always has this kind of paper, the kind of cupcake paper around it, because it is so soft, and it probably will just stick and fall apart. Otherwise, mushpan, highly recommended. So those are the two kind of breads you'll see everywhere. Grocery stores, convenience stores, and everywhere. And there's so many different variations of it. And so just be careful, because sometimes they'll have like sweet beans or something a little surprising that's not normal for kind of Western palate. Inside, it might be a little disappointing. I still remember, visually, you've got to be careful, because both black sugar and sweet bean look like chocolate, in certain photographs and things. So if you're looking at a package of something and you're not reading anything, you may buy something and take a bite, and it's just sweet beans. It's not chocolate in any way, or it's just with brown sugar flavoring. Oh, yeah, but both are everywhere, very standard kind of bread. So it's so funny that so many of the earliest loanwords in Japanese are from Portuguese. So they say a lot of funny different things and don't realize even what language they came from, because it's just Japanese. Once they adopt it, it's just a Japanese word. So keep an eye out for anything looking like this. And this has some little bits of something, which I'm wondering if it's the flavoring. Yeah, it's just some crunchy little bits. And this is just a butter melon pan. Yeah, so I guess that's why it's more brown on the top. But there's like little chunks of sugar, some sweetness in it, maybe to give it a little more crunch on the top. Wow, that's sweet. Yeah, don't eat that just by itself. Oh yeah, I have seen that. The kind of rocky sugar, real chunks of sugar kind of sprinkled on top of that same kind of bread. So it gives it that texture. I think they're trying to have that really crunchy outside texture and then softer inside, but it's nowhere as near as soft as the mushpan. Yeah, and then sometimes I've seen beans and things hidden inside this soft bread as well, the mushipan. So, but both of those are fun and willing, or a good thing to seek out if you want a light, easy snack in Japan. All right, so that's all for this weekend. Sorry, I was really trying to do the end of summer dawone, Japanese soda flavor thing, but no more. It's not around. So I'll try to keep doing this and try to keep giving you some interesting things and trying not to eat on microphone as much. So back to the cartoons. All right, let me finish this. Okay, little chewing and swallowing. Now let's write some cartoons here. Wow. Yeah, my controls are a little slow. Okay, so my idea, he would have tried to be a better whatever he was if he had known. This is so long. Okay, so I want to do a return policy joke, and this is not the way to write this. This is way too long. He would have tried to be a better whatever he was if he had known about the return policy. I'm not sure, but he definitely needs to be frowning. Oh, that was a good one. Yeah, maybe like that. He would have tried to be a better whatever he was if he had known about the return policy. Yeah, so. Oh, something, yeah, something along those lines, but just a little bit more economic, I think, as far as word use. So return policies made. Yeah, put the fear in anything ordered by mail. Liberal return policies, generous return policies. Oh yeah, maybe talking about the length though. So 30 days. Oh, sorry. 30 days. He knew he only had 30 days to. Oh, or maybe that. Yeah, he thought he had the whole return policy thing beat. Extended warranty? I don't know. Where am I going with this? Off the camera, I guess. So, he would have tried to be a better whatever he was if he had known about the return policy. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, yeah, probably something more. He would have been far less anxious without a 30-day return policy hanging over him. That's the same amount of words, but a lot I guess it's a little bit leaner. He would have been far less anxious without a 30-day return policy hanging over him. Return policy. He would have been far less anxious without a 30-day return policy hanging over him. Yeah, something like that. Okay. I think that's working. I forgot I want to get some... Oh, I think I already did a little bit here. The package a little bit more highlighted. There we go. The marker. What? Okay. All right. I guess all of this is working. He would have been far less anxious without a 30-day return policy hanging over him. Okay. That was kind of my funny haha idea. You kind of, performance anxiety for being able to be returned. And now the trash. Let's see. So doing their part as recycled paper. I still want to put eyes on that stupid paper bag. But where? I guess he could be upside down. I don't know. That's not great. He's just peeking over the edge here. Oh yeah, I like the little bit cut off would be nice too. Yeah. Oh yeah, that works. Okay. The constant birth, death, and rebirth cycle of recycling. Oh boy, let's see. Recycled paper, recycled. They hoped that be recycled into something someone actually wanted to keep. If I talked about I was so surprised. I mean, Japan is a very wet country. I think a lot of, the Asia, the tropical kind of whatever that zone is that we're in. But a lot of Asia is very rainy and hot and humid. And so Japan loves books and paper and reading, but a couple of used bookstores I've been to, wow, the condition of those books and the amount of mold and, mold staining and mildew and stuff is amazingly high, and still the prices are pretty high. So I was, a little bit amazed by that there's quite a tolerance for moldy books, because I guess you don't have a lot of chance to fight that. It's much harder to fight here. They hoped that finally they could be recycled into something someone